Hi.
Hi, Vinita. Hi, we are just trying to add Damini. Just give us a minute, please.
Just clean the camera.
I think Alka was trying to join also.
One week.
Well,
Yes. Hi, Damini.
Hello.
can you see me this time?
No, I still can't.
That's all right. I can see you. Vinita, can you see me? Can you hear me? Thank you, Sneha.
Clear and
Fantastic. Damini, this is something that I've been facing with Insta also. I don't tend to see all my guests, but I keep talking to the screen. But do not worry, our guests and I can see you. And as
Perfect.
far as you can hear me, we can go live. We already have 8 people online, and I think we can start. Thank you. So hi
Yeah.
everyone, thank you for being there for our third episode on JiViSa on relationships. We are going to be speaking about self-love today. Before we start, and while a lot of people are still adding on, I can see 11 people who are already logged in. We started this series, JiViSa on relationships, because we think that overall well-being is very, very important for anything in our life. And relationships make a very important part of our well-being. Valentine's is around the corner. Everybody's talking about love and relationships, gifting, and sending cards, sending chocolates, etc. पर हमें लगता है कि जब तक हमारे आसपास के relationships के बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे और उसमें सबसे टफ चीजों के बारे में बात नहीं करेंगे, it is of no use. We don't want to celebrate love one day in a year. We want to celebrate love every day. And we want to do it through really healthy, strong relationships. And strong relationship means things that, things like confrontation, things like setting boundaries, things that you otherwise don't like to face. And those things need to be talked about. So you may have seen that in the last 2 episodes, we spoke about setting boundaries, why are value systems important in creating great relationships, etc. The last time we spoke about how sometimes you have to take tough decisions and move out of toxic relationships. And do you hold on, do you let go, etc. And what are those signs that tell you that okay, it is time for you to let go? This time, we want to end our 3 talk series on relationship by talking about ourselves the most. Because we all believe, the community that is there, both my guests, we all believe that आपके relationships outside of you तब strong हो सकते हैं जब आपका relationship अपने साथ बहुत strong हो. I'm joined by these 2 beautiful women. I'm sitting today in Delhi, not in Dehradun, unlike every time. And I'm joined by 2 beautiful women. I have Damini Grover with me. Damini is, if I have to give her introduction, she's empowering individuals to take charge of their lives. So she's somebody who really, really speaks about how you need to go and take charge and do everything around that space. She's a counseling psychologist and life coach here in Delhi. She's also a very young author of this beautiful book, by the way, that I have back in my office also. It's called The Intentional Being. And we've also decided to give some of those books away as part of our live giveaways along with JiViSa Campus. And she's the founder of I Am Powered, a Center for Counseling and Wellbeing. If you're seeking any kind of counseling, I know that Damini is your go-to person. I personally send a lot of people to her for therapy of personal nature. But here is Damini. Damini, welcome on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarika. I'm so happy to be here.
And we are so happy to have you here. My other guest today is Vinita. Vinita, firstly, is based in Dehradun. She's a very, very dear friend. She has been a long time Oshoite. I think she was about 1920 when she got introduced into the world of Osho, and she's been following the philosophy of Osho ever since. Last year, on her 25th wedding anniversary, she and her husband also decided to convert their home into an Osho meditation center in Dehradun. So ये लोग इतना ज़्यादा dedicated हैं. The reason we also wanted to bring Vinita in is because with Damini, I want to understand the behavioral and psychological aspects of self-love, while with Vinita, I also want to touch upon the spiritual aspect of it. And ideally, I do feel that there is a huge overlap, but I think these two women will be able to give us very distinct, very their kind of point of view. So Vinita, thank you again for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, जब हम लोगों ने ये post करना शुरू करा that we'll be speaking about self-love today, the one question that we kept getting from the audience was, what is really self-love and how do we kind of distinguish between narcissism and self-love? Somehow self-love का connotation कभी-कभी बहुत negative हो जाता है. A lot of people who speak a lot about self-love as somebody outside of that, we kind of judge it as selfishness and not self-love. I want to set the tone of this conversation by first making a distinction between the two and why is it important. And maybe Damini, we can start with you and then, move on to Vinita.
Sure. So before I, tell you what self-love is it okay if I ask you a question?
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay. So, Sarika, do you have plants in your house?
I have loads of plants in my house.
Okay, perfect. So, जब आप कोई नया plant लगाते हैं, जब भी आपने लगाया होगा, what did you do or what do you normally do to take care of those plants so that they continue to grow and they continue to bloom? आप कैसे ध्यान रखते हो?
I think बहुत सारा nourishment देना होता है. So you have to water it every day. You have to protect it from very harsh sunlight, yet show it enough sunlight so it is kind of, getting enough light. You weed, every once in a while to make sure that जो rot हो रहा है वो निकल जाए. And I guess, those little things that you continue to do.
Yeah, I lost the audio. Could you repeat the last sentence?
I said, थोड़ी weeding होती है, थोड़ा watering होती है, and in and out of sunlight होता है. By and large, these 2-3 things that you do.
Perfect. So if I were to just sum it up, there's this plant in your house or whatever, plants in your house, and you want them to grow, you want them to bloom because you like them, and some of them would be your favorites, you love them, and you do everything possible to take care of them, to give them, the word that you used was nourishment, so that they can grow, they can bloom, right? Giving them the right ingredients in the right proportion at the right time. Also protecting them from weed, insects, कोई बाहर का जानवर आ जाए, so giving them protection as well.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if we talk about self-love, simply what we are saying is that imagine that you are that plant. You have to take care of yourself in a way that you are able to grow and bloom, which means that you give yourself nourishment, you give yourself that nurturance that you need. So in essence, love is all about giving. And what you give is nourishment. What you give is, nurturance, so that you or anybody else that you claim to love is able to grow. तो उसमें किस तरीके से उनकी ग्रोथ होनी चाहिए, आपको क्या चाहिए आपकी ग्रोथ के लिए, किस proportion में चाहिए, things that work, things that don't work. It's about getting into that kind of a mindset for yourself. That's what self-love is. पर हमने उसको एक ऐसे evil चीज बना दी है कि इतना खराब है ये. But ऐसा कुछ है नहीं. बहुत टाइम मतलब very often people confuse it with selfishness. It's actually different, right? Oh, it's completely different. See, this is something which I wrote in my book also, काफी research करके, which is that what is selfishness? Selfishness literally by definition आप Google भी कर लोगे तो आपको मिल जाएगा, which is that you are trying to fulfill your own interests at the cost of somebody else, and you really don't give a damn to what happens to the other person, right? You're going to, you don't really care. And when we are talking about self-love, and when we are saying that, the essence of love is about giving, वहाँ पर it's not about harming somebody else to fulfill your own needs. तब selfish हो जाता है. But self-love says that, if I am going to do things to love you, you're my parents, you're my family, you're whoever, my partner, and I'm supposed to do things to love you, I am also an individual, and I also need to do things to love my own self. I'm not taking anything away from you deliberately so that I can see you hurt and I can see you crying. No.
True.
That's not what the essence of love or self-love really is.
True.
But
So
that's something that, we have perpetuated over the years.
Yeah. The one difference that you have made very, very clearly, Damini, is that self-love is taking care of yourself, not at the cost of something or someone else. While selfishness, if you really want to, kind of distinguish the two, is when you take care of yourself so much that you just don't care what's happening to the others. You are actually doing it at the cost of someone else or something else, or maybe at the cost of emotions, etc., which is where you kind of step over the line and, that's where you cross over, right? Vinika,
Exactly.
you want to add
And
something?
with selfishness, there's an intent.
Yes.
No, so for me, experientially, what I have experienced is that, like, loving yourself is the most difficult thing.
Very
Because
true.
this constant judgment we've been put through ever since we were small,
Yeah.
You are good, you need to be better, you have to be perfect, and all of that. So that
Yeah.
hypnosis has been into our heads since we were, I think, 3 or 4 years old. So
Absolutely.
the moment, like how it came to me was, I was asked this question, what is it you love the most? This question actually hit me hard because I did not know what I loved. Because I would answer was very borrowed, But I love to paint, I love to dance, I love to sing and all.
Yeah.
Actually, that was kind of poured inside. That was not my own experience. So when I realized, यार self love क्या है, ये तो मैंने कभी सोचा ही नहीं.
Right.
Then I decided, like, I really need to go inside and see who am I?
Right.
What is it that I would love to do? So, but how? Why has no answer? But how can I help myself? And that is where I started differentiating that if I've been told that, like, there's this judgment in the head.
Yeah.
ये तुम नहीं कर रहे हो, तो ये कौन बोल रहा है मेरे दिमाग में? So when I started differentiating, who is the one, which is this voice? That is why there was a separation from the voice and from who I am at the moment. So that is where I took the first step. So being selfish is beautiful, because at one point of time, I feel there has to be a little narcissism, but consciously. And then we can take on empathy, we can take on compassion, but that comes as a part of who I am in the moment. I will give only what I have in the moment. Sometimes I am very in a negative way, where I want to get things. मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता तुम्हारे को क्या हुआ है. But that's also my responsibility, that I take charge of that shadow in me, that okay, this is also coming. All for me, all inclusion of who I am. I'm not rejecting any. So that acceptance of who I am in the moment, I call it self-love.
Beautiful. विनीता, आपने ना दो चीजें कही जो it really struck me. एक आपने बोला, you started by saying that it is the most difficult to love yourself, and you're absolutely right. हमारी बहुत major conditioning होती है बचपन से. हमें सिखाया ही नहीं जाता है कि how do you love yourself? You're constantly looking at love as an emotion, outside of yourself. I'm in love with, or I love this as a hobby, or I love that as an emotion, etc., etc. We are never taught to even look inward at all. And with most of us, I think it comes way later in life. And the other thing is that you said that once in a while you may slip into being, selfish, to say, no, I need this, etc. But are you aware of that emotion? And then you take charge of it? I think that, really, really stayed with me. Damini, I'll bring this discussion to you. How do we, like Vinita said, that there are these times that you slip, into being selfish also. And we were talking about being selfish versus having self-love. How do we what are the signs that we see in ourselves? I personally feel that it needs a lot of self-awareness, first of all. आप, किस stage of life में है? Have you started reflecting? Have you started questioning yourself? And once you do that, how do you arrest being selfish and not kind of start harming others or their emotions etc. आप इतना ज़्यादा control करने लगते हो कि आपको पता ही नहीं चलता कि आप कब वो step over कर जाते हो. So what are the signs that one should be looking for?
I think, see, the main differentiating factor here that all of us need to be mindful of is that of intent.
Right.
See, when we are talking about, being selfish, what we are really saying is that there is an intent to go and harm somebody. It's like आप और मैं, for example, you're eating something and I want that, right? And I'm going to come at you with full force and I'm like, मुझे तो यही चाहिए, and I'm going to take it from you. I won't let you eat it no matter how hungry you are. You could be starving, you could be ill, and I'll be like, no, I want it for myself. उसके बाद आपको क्या होता है, मुझे उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा. See, there's a clear intent that I'm coming from.
Right. Yeah.
But when we are talking about getting into the practice of self-love, we are saying that, okay, I understand that there are certain things which are important for other people and there are certain things which are important for me also. Yeah. I'm going to see what's the best way in which I can balance both the things. And in case I cannot, in case I need to put myself above the other person, yeah, I'm going to take responsibility. There might be some collateral damage that can happen, but I am not doing something with the actual intent of causing you harm.
Right.
See, this is something, which comes up a lot in discussions with people, even in therapy, that, okay, if I do something for myself and, somebody does not like it, they don't approve of it, तो फिर मैं क्या करूं? या उनको बुरा लग जाएगा, उनको hurt होगा. See, the thing is that it's a constant act of, balancing and harmonizing things. अगर कभी आप दूसरे के लिए जरूरत से ज्यादा करोगे तो you are going to be, damaged in some way or the other if it's not happening from a place of choice, if it's not, you're not mindful about it. And in the same way, if you are undercompensating for your own self, right? But if you're, तो वहां पर भी एक तरीके का डैमेज आ जाता है. आप क्या बेयर करना चाहते हो, at what point in time आप अपना डैमेज ले सकते हो या आप दूसरे को कर सकते हो, right? With responsibility. That's what self love really is. It's not saying कि मैं तो करके ही रहूंगा irrespective of what happens. So it's about being mindful, it's about checking your intent, and then it's about taking responsibility for your actions and trying to see, the best way possible.
Sure. So we are saying that when we're talking about self-love, one, even if you are crossing, that boundary of being selfish sometimes, because you may end up wanting to do something that may be at the cost of someone or someone's emotion. One, are you doing it intentionally? That is the first thing that both the ladies said. And two, are you aware of the choices that you're making? Sometimes you are aware and you still want to go ahead with it as far as you're aware, and hence you take the responsibility of whatever choice it is that you're making. That's where the difference lies. I'll try and take one or two questions that came from the audience the last time. How is self-love intertwined with personal growth and development? And is it really important for our personal development? It is something that, in fact, a lot of audience wrote to us because we were talking about, this entire journey. So when I'm trying to understand myself, how important is it to love myself for me to be able to grow, evolve as a person, for me to be able to get more aware of my emotions? Vinita, and we can start with you.
Yeah, this is very, very tricky. Why? Because the moment we start loving ourselves, the first sentiment which comes to me, I feel guilty.
Yeah.
I feel guilty that I am happy when everyone around me is, so to say, miserable or suffering.
Yeah.
सबसे पहले, just being watchful. I'm not saying, see, it's going to go away in a day or two.
Right.
Because it's over a period of time, we have cultivated this idea that yourself is not good. पहले दूसरे को तो, like, be a sacrificial lamb always.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the moment I start taking responsibility, even I am important. What about me?
Yeah.
This first line, what about me, will give you that power to start with at least A. Okay, let me just prioritize myself for 1 hour. एक दिन दो दिन छोड़ दो, पहले घंटे के लिए शुरू करो. And then you will, in that moment, you will feel that I'm coming close to myself. I am getting to know myself तो my own lens, ना मेरे parents का lens, teacher का lens, ना मेरे master का lens. You let go of the master. So that is one thing, that please let go of the guilt. Because someday, if someone is asking this question, how is it related with personal growth? No one is going to anger ki bade ho jao. You know, it's just this insight. What about me? I am the most important person in the moment. What is it that I like in the moment?
Right.
Sometimes we may not have an answer. That what is it I like? But just staying with that me in the moment, it's very profound, Sarika. I mean, I have gone through all of us, I think, have our own stories of our life. Where sometimes it becomes very, very difficult and I have to justify why I'm loving myself.
You know, it's a very, very important point that you made, especially on the guilt bit. And I think that society puts a lot of guilt in us. Our conditioning has put a lot of guilt in us. And I also feel that somehow we as women take it very, very differently than men. I don't think they feel so guilty about, taking care of themselves or, evolving or spending time or investing time on themselves as much as women do. I have Watcher World asking here, do you think men and women see love very differently? And Damini, because you counsel a lot of men and women separately, do you think they come back to you with, how do they come back to you with this kind of problem? Do they deal with it differently? Do they express it differently to you? Do they even feel the same? Do the men that come to you for therapy feel the same as women?
So, when we are talking about expression of love, of course, there is a difference. Whether it's love outside of you or whether it's towards you, there's a difference in how the genders express. And again, that has a lot to do with, what we've been talking about, conditioning. That women are, raised in a certain way and they're supposed to be a certain way. So, उनका expression काफी out there होता है, but men का इतना नहीं है. Because जिस environment में वो हैं, but at the same time, and then of course when it comes to like emotions has been considered women ka domain, but it's not men ka domain. It's logic and being practical and just being the provider and getting things done. So yes, there is a difference in the way they approach love and in the way they express it also. But when we talk about this relationship with our own selves, which is self-love, there is actually no difference in the way they are perceiving it, simply because irrespective of the gender that we belong to, majority of us are products of the same conditioning. हमको वही घोट के पिलाया गया है कि तुमको दूसरे का ध्यान रखना है, तुमको हमेशा you have to be there for other people, तुम अपने बारे में नहीं सोच सकते, तुमने अगर परिवार से पहले जाके खाना खा लिया just because you were hungry, वो तुम बड़े ill mannered हो और तुम तो बड़े selfish हो, तुम्हें तो दूसरों का ख्याल ही नहीं है, small things like these. So it's the same story because that's the child rearing process that everybody is subjected to. Consciously and subconsciously, through generations, it goes on. Iसीलिए anybody who wants to deviate from the norm, from the collectivist idea, right? उनको label कर दिया जाता है, इतना judgment मिलता है, and then because we also want to belong to our family, we want to belong to our friend circle, to our society, we have no option but to kind of take in that judgment to see ki, am I being accepted or am I going to be rejected? So, going back to what Vinita said, that eventually we just internalize all these external voices, which don't let our personality and, our true self actually shine. And then there's a lot of, coming back to growth and self-love. Growth and self-love are intricately connected. अगर आप life में grow करना चाहते हो, as an individual grow करना चाहते हो, you can't grow from a place of lack of nourishment. You can't grow in vacuum. You can't expect yourself to be your best self when you are not getting your needs met, when you're not getting things that you want from your friends, family members, your careers, and you're just busy, like what Vinita said, being the sacrificial lamb because that's what society expects of you. वो हो ही नहीं सकता. इसीलिए जो नहीं कर पाते वो stuck रह जाते हैं.
Completely. Our society has a very very important role to play. मुझे ऐसा भी लगता है कि culturally हम लोग को ये सिखाया जाता है, especially in the East, that you have to take care of others first. And you're absolutely right, Damini. Maybe the conditioning for men is slightly different than the conditioning of women. So I do see a lot of men around me जो family first करते हैं, they would put their own needs after their family's needs, no matter what they are going through. And it is conditioned completely, गोद के डाला गया है कि आप ही को रेस करना है, आप ही की responsibility आप ही को करना है. So while as women we go through a different kind of challenge, I think men for that matter go through very very different kind of challenge, and they also process it differently. Maybe उनका narrative और हमारा narrative अलग है, but उनके भी issues काफी similar है, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Then see, for both men and women, the story is the same. Men are supposed to be the providers, so they have to think of the family before, right? Women are supposed to be the nurturers of the family, so they have to think of others first. So eventually, if you remove the genders and if you just look at how a human being is being raised in the society, the narrative is the same. तो हम अब खुद तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाते.
मतलब हमें खुद को और हमारी सोसाइटी हम लोगों को रोक देती है to finally find yourself and reach yourself, is what Damini is saying. I'll take this one comment before I come back on this conversation. This is Ami from Mumbai saying, growing every day bit by bit, which makes us feel at peace and happy, is a good sign that you loved yourself. Is it or is it not? I've known her for some time, and I know that she's also on to a self-discovery journey. And has very recently started to love herself and work on that self. And Ami, you're absolutely right, I guess. Going back to the guilt bit, Vinita, and you spoke extensively about that, and Damini spoke extensively about that. What is the trick to finally tell yourself that, okay, I don't want to feel guilty about this? Because I think that's the one thing that stops all of us from investing in ourselves, from nurturing our own soul. जो एक फैक्टर है जो हम सबको बहुत strongly stop करता है is the guilt, either which is self-induced or induced by the society, as we were just discussing. How do you work on it with a lot of gentleness, if I may? Because guilt per se is not, it's a very negative emotion. It can really kill you inside. So आप अपने आप को gently कैसे इससे बाहर लेकर आएंगे?
Sarika, I don't think it's a very time-oriented thing. But having said, just this recognition that when I love myself and I take care of myself, I think it over a period of time, how I have worked on it is that I have stopped projecting it in a way where I look, when I want to take care of myself and I'm having a sneak peek, कोई मेरे बारे में नहीं सोचेगा, कोई मेरे बारे में सोचेगा. तो जब ये बहुत क्वेश्चन होने लग जाता है पूरे सिस्टम पे, then at one point of एक टाइम आता है, for me, I just let go of it.
Right.
There is a saturation.
Right.
For how can I just keep on looking outside that क्या सोचेंगे मेरे बारे में क्या? तो जब धीरे धीरे हम आसपास मैंने जो देखा कि हाँ हर कोई हर किसी के बारे में कुछ ना कुछ सोच ही रहा है. Habit, they have cultivated. So okay, enjoy judging or enjoy thinking about it. Took it with bit of humor.
Right.
And everyone also got new because they could see a smile on my face. It actually helped them also started prioritizing themselves कि ये कर रही है तो यार हम भी जरा try करके देखें. So it's so it was very interesting. I started traveling. Even my husband, he doesn't travel, but he started looking at me from a happy side. कि यार बड़ी खुश है, घूमती रहती है, खुश होने लग. So I think it's sort of infectious that you choose, but it's not. It happens over the period of time. I just think you start looking at the other with a bit of humor.
Right. That's a beautiful element, by the way. Yes.
ये मेरे बारे में क्या सोचेंगे? अरे let them सोचो. हम भी तो सोचते हैं दूसरे के. Be honest,
So
good or bad.
Right.
That's how we are. But just, I mean, acknowledging that, yes, we are opinionated. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that. I'm sorry, Vinita, your voice was coming a little cracked. So for our audience, I'm going to just try and summarize what you just said. एक तो आप कह रहे हो कि यार दुनिया तो सोचेगी ही चाहे आप कुछ भी करो, and the only way to kind of deal with that is कि उसको fun में ले लो, क्यों जरूरी थोड़ी ना है कि हर चीज को इतना seriously लेना है. So you can actually enjoy the journey and say that it's okay, people are thinking about it, etc. That's absolutely all right, because by the way, you're also doing that. And I love the way you actually ended the sentence by saying, yes, we are opinionated. It's all right to be opinionated. Why don't you just protect yourself and say that I'm working on myself and not really care about... otherwise, आप एक और trap में फंस जाते हैं, right?
Absolutely.
While you're trying to come out...
Yeah, it's never-ending loop.
It is a never-ending loop. Damini, how does, in your profession, you meet a whole lot of people who are very, very conditioned, और कुछ हमारी society है, कुछ हमारे self-inflicted pressures हैं. How do you bring people out of their guilt, and how do you tell them? I really like what Vinita said, but I would also like, this side of a point of view.
I'll just add to what Vinita has already said, which is of course wonderful, that thoda hasi mein le lo unko and sochne do and be opinionated, and you'll be able to do all of that once you're able to switch on one thing and switch off one thing and switch on to the other, which means it's about flipping the script. Okay, आपका जो narrative चलते आया है, that has always led you to question that मैं कौन हूँ, मैं important हूँ कि नहीं.
Right.
Like Vinita said, we all reach a stage जहाँ पर हम बोलते हैं कि यार मतलब ये चल क्या रहा है लाइफ में, मैं हूँ कि नहीं. And flipping the script says that you turn the question into the answer. कि question मत करो कि मैं important हूँ या नहीं, बस बोलना शुरू कर दो कि मैं भी important हूँ. I am important too. So yes, I recognize that XYZ is important in my life, and they occupy a hell lot of space. But मैं भी अपनी ही life का एक हिस्सा हूँ, right? I also deserve that space. तो मैं भी important हूँ. And this is such a magical, affirmation that you can give to yourself.
Yeah.
I have seen transformations happening in a span of 1 week. कि कोई लोग जो अपने नहाने धोने का ध्यान नहीं है, पूरा दिन खाया नहीं खाया कुछ पता नहीं है, दिन कहाँ चला जाता है, बस बच्चे के पीछे भाग रहे हैं, हस्बैंड के पीछे भाग रहे हैं, या पेरेंट्स की सेवा कर रहे हैं, सब कुछ चल रहा है. The minute they just start looking at themselves in the mirror, or even mentally they just start repeating that, okay, no, I am important too. That repetition is enough to make them get up the next day, go for a bath, dress properly, and say, okay, I'm going to take out 1 hour for myself, and let me see what I can create for myself. So that's what we're saying. Don't keep questioning. Give yourself the answer, because आप ही आंसर हो कि आप भी important हो. और जब आपका माइंड ये पिकअप करना शुरू करेगा, धीरे धीरे आप अपनी ग्रोथ की तरफ जाना शुरू कर लोगे.
Beautiful. Flip your script is what Damini is saying. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि how do I kind of come out of the guilt, how do I come out of this self-created pressure that I have कि कैसे मैं अपने आप को prioritize करूं, तो सबसे पहली बात तो ये question ही नहीं है कि आप priority हैं कि नहीं, आप priority हैं is what she's saying. That does not stay a question anymore. It's becomes an answer, and it becomes almost like a statement at the start of the day. And I loved all the affirmations that Damini gave in. I'll try and read some comments because there are a whole lot of comments coming and people do ask us later. There is Ayush who says, when we stop thinking about people when they are what they are of us, then it becomes very hard for them to deal with it, and then they start manipulating us and they try and make us guilty for being self-centric. Basically, what we just discussed earlier, that आप इस बारे में सोचे ही नहीं कि लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं, because लोग तो सोचेंगे ही, as Vinita said. The idea is to change the script, change the narrative, and say, yes, I am important, and go on from there.
Sarika,
yes.
Can I?
Please, yes.
So, this is a very common situation that when you start prioritizing yourself,
Yeah.
people who are very friendly with you start
Yeah.
getting distant because they are
Yeah.
you giving them attention all the time,
Yeah.
prioritizing them. So
Yeah.
it is some sort of insecurity which comes into them with
Yeah.
which they kind of pass to you. And
Right.
this is something, I feel in the beginning we do get, pulled in this sort of thing that yaar, I'll be isolated, मेरे दोस्त छूट जाएंगे,
Yeah.
मेरा flan छूट जाएगा. लेकिन at some point of time, I feel now at that point of time, once you start realizing that, okay, if someone is so conditional about being associated with you, it's time for you to be authentic for once, and you take ability of, okay, few people are being filtered out. A lot of power. It takes a lot of courage to let go of people like that.
True.
Because we feel that हमारा existence ही दूसरे के भरोसे है.
Right. Right.
So once that idea that, I do not exist because the other exists.
Yeah.
I exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
This remembrance, I think, I said, एक जो hypnosis हमारे अंदर हुआ है, you are not important, you exist because the other, इसको de-hypnotize.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I am loved. I'm, as Damini said.
Yeah.
It's quite a game actually. What to
I'll just add to what Vinita said that, yes to everything that you said. And because, we come from this conditioned background, when you start taking small steps towards yourself to prioritize, to give yourself importance, आपकी लाइफ में एक earthquake आएगा. earthquake आएगा क्योंकि अभी तक सब चीजें सेट हो रखी थी, राइट? यू वर यूज्ड टू पीपल बीइंग अ सर्टेन वे, पीपल वर यूज्ड टू यू बीइंग अ सर्टेन वे, सबका एक कंफर्ट जोन डेवलप हो गया था. अब जब भी चीजें इक्विलिब्रियम में सेट होती हैं, आप एक भी वेरिएबल को शिफ्ट करोगे, आप अपने घर में अपने सोफा चेयर को इधर उधर कर दो, आपको अकस्टम होने में थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा उस कमरे से, right? Because that's how the human mind works, कि हमको symmetry समझ में आती है, comfort समझ में आता है, familiarity समझ में आती है, और अब आप change कर रहे हो तो वो दूसरों के लिए भी उतना ही अनकंफर्टेबल होगा. तो एक डिसइक्विलिब्रियम कुछ समय के लिए जरूर क्रिएट होगा, और फ्रैंकली वो बहुत जरूरी है, so that you unlearn all these patterns that you have been living with that are not serving you. You also then learn who are your people, because the kind of people जो अभी तक आपकी लाइफ में थे वो उस कंडीशनिंग का हिस्सा है. अब जब आप चेंज करोगे, खुद के लिए कुछ नया क्रिएट करने की कोशिश करोगे, तो फिर कुछ पुराने लोग, कुछ पुराने रिश्ते, पुराने तौर तरीके छूटेंगे. वो एक प्रेपरेशन जो है अपने अंदर लाने की बहुत जरूरत है कि, like Vinita said, it's a game. It takes time. I always say it's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. And there are certain costs that are going to be associated with it. There are costs for everything, right? So this discomfort is something which you will have to bear till the time you find those people, or the current relationships also realign so that they become, more fruitful and start serving your this purpose, this journey that you're on.
Completely.
उतना time तो
मुझे
लगेगा.
ना, after listening to the two of you, I'm reminded of how we started the conversation where Damini asked me, जब आप एक नए plant को लाते हो, and I said you have to weed out, you have to show sun and bring the plant back. It's almost sounding like weeding of people, if I may, to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself. कुछ जब आप changes लाएंगे तो
we lost you, Sarika.
Yeah, I thought that's
I'm
my
sorry.
bad internet connection.
Taking the light from my phone, and once in a while you get a call and you have to disconnect. So what I'm saying was that when you're trying to bring about a change, and especially with your immediate circle, they would not be used to this new you. So there would be some disequilibrium around you, and it's okay for that to happen. उसके बाद आपको ये भी समझ में आ जाएगा कि actually who are the people who are completely aligned to you, who are the people who also want you to nurture yourself, who genuinely believe in your growth as much as they believe in their own needs. So let that happen. Don't be scared of that. उसके बाद जो निकल कर आएगा वो फ्रेश पत्ते, ग्रीन लीव्स और ये सारी चीजें निकल कर आएंगी. उस वीडिंग की जरूरत है. Don't be scared. The other thing I picked from one of the conversations was कि आप छोटे-छोटे steps लेके भी कर सकते हो. So you start with, one little thing here, one little thing there. Take an hour out for yourself. Start with that, and then kind of building on it, and let people settle with the changes that are happening. Kehikasha here says, absolutely. In fact, I believe that we are all going through this unlearning phase and being more aware of ourselves. I think, Damini, you were talking about unlearning, and it is almost unlearning as we grow. It's proportionate to our self-awareness is, what we are saying. एक टाइम था जब हम बहुत ज्यादा लर्निंग के ऊपर एम्फसाइज करते थे, पर आपके सेल्फ अवेयरनेस के लिए अनलर्निंग भी उतनी ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, सो दैट you start dropping all the conditioning, you start dropping everything that has been fed into you, and say no, let's look at the world from a completely new point of view. Tarunika is asking us, how do I learn to say no? It's always one of my New Year's resolutions, but I'm never able to kind of take it through. Just to set a context, we were having a discussion on the same topic in our office 2 days back with our team, and when we were saying that, okay, what does self-love mean to you? How do you bring it out? And it also came out that one of the things as part of the journey is to start saying no when we want to say no. We don't want to say yes all the time because हमें यही सिखाया गया है. How do we start doing that in small measures? And Damini, maybe you can start with you.
So my internet is a bit iffy today. I'm just going to repeat the question to know that I've got it right. You're asking about how to say no, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, that's a big one because of our conditioning, हम no बोलने में बहुत झिझकते हैं for the fear of upsetting someone or fear of getting into a conflict. I mean, there are so many reasons जिसकी वजह से we want to play safe and we're like, okay, मैं अपने आप पे compromise कर देती हूँ, but let me not disturb the larger scheme of things. But we do recognize that it is important to say no, and the way to do that is, number one, it's important to tune into your discomfort. If you're feeling uncomfortable when you're saying something, when you're doing something, when somebody is asking you उनके लिए कुछ करने के लिए, right? And your body is going to tell you whether you are actually comfortable or not. Your thought process is going to tell you that am I into it, or would I rather be out? And most of us actually lack that awareness because हम autopilot पे बस करते ही रहते हैं. So first is to take a step back and just ask yourself, is this something that I can do, I want to do? So what's my discomfort telling me? Number one. And then number two, it is about asking yourself, okay, I want to say no, but what is really blocking me? What are my reasons for not saying no? जब आप अपने से ये कॉन्वर्सेशन करना शुरू करोगे, आपको अपने रीजन समझ में आएंगे. एंड देन इट्स अबाउट व्हेन यू फाइनली कम टू अ कंक्लूजन कि ओके नहीं करना है, ट्राई करके देखते हैं, एक्सपेरिमेंट ही करके देखते हैं. ये माइंडसेट रखना पड़ेगा कि हाँ, मुझे करना पड़ेगा एक्सपेरिमेंट जिसमें ये प्लस भी हो सकता है और ये माइनस भी हो सकता है. हो सकता है कोई रिएक्शन मुझे ना मिले और हो सकता है कि एक एडवर्स रिएक्शन मिल जाए. फॉर आई नीड टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड. And then I need to find the easiest possible way to begin with to say no. I don't have to get into a head-on confrontation. Maybe I could just drop a text, for example. I could do it through somebody also. Or I could find like a, repeat some polite sentences in my head. So find the easiest possible way. And find that person, find that situation जो बहुत ज़्यादा अभी बड़ी नहीं है डील करने के लिए. क्योंकि आप इतना बड़ा नहीं कर पाओगे. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपको मम्मी पापा से नो बोलने में बहुत अगर प्रॉब्लम होती है और वो बहुत भड़क जाते हैं, घर में बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती है, स्टार्ट विद अ फ्रेंड. स्टार्ट विद योर बेस्ट फ्रेंड. उसको प्रैक्टिस ग्राउंड बनाओ, देखो कि आपको कैसा फील हो रहा है. देन मूव टू द अदर पर्सन एंड स्लोली योर माइंड विल पिक अप ऑन सेइंग नो. तब तक अपने बारे में इतनी अवेयरनेस भी आ चुकी होगी कि आप फिर किसी थोड़ी सी और बड़ी सिचुएशन या थोड़े और डिफिकल्ट पर्सन या कोई डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन में आप फिर बड़ा रिस्क ले सको. सो स्टार्ट स्मॉल.
So it's almost like training yourself, to take on bigger confrontations later. There is Priti Andas, and she asks, when I said no to others, they started to emotionally blackmail me. What do I do with the blackmails that are happening?
That is so common, and this is again something that we talked about also कि इक्विलिब्रियम तो हिलेगा, अर्थक्वेक तो आएगा, लोग शॉक में चले जाएंगे, आपको मैनिपुलेट करने की कोशिश करेंगे. तो ये सब चीजें होंगी because when you say no to something, you're also taking away किसी और का कुछ ना, उनका comfort आप ले रहे हो अपने
Absolutely.
comfort के लिए, तो
Absolutely.
थोड़ा तो reaction उनका भी बनता ही है.
Yeah.
In such situations, it's important to hold your own ground. That's where, you know, the second skill of after you've set some boundaries, it's important to learn how to be assertive, how
Yeah.
to stick to your point. If
Yeah.
you can see that they are manipulating you,
Yeah.
change your response in a way that you are not manipulated. Right? So that's also another level of training that we need to give to ourselves.
Preeti, I hope that answers, your question. And I think it also comes back to the same point we were discussing earlier. At some point, you'll have to suspend कि लोग आपके बारे में क्या सोच रहे हैं. अगर कोई आपको इमोशनली ब्लैकमेल कर रहा है तो वो बहुत ज्यादा सेल्फिश हो रहा है, which means they are putting themselves before they are putting you. And I guess you also need to kind of start doing the same. I'm not saying go ahead and be selfish, but please do protect yourself, on this journey. Vinita, I thought you wanted to add something and I intervened. Is there something
No,
you wanted to
I
add?
just wanted to say here, you know, one emotional blackmail thing. I realized that actually self-love is equals to self-respect also. Like, unless I start respecting myself
Yeah.
and my no,
Yeah.
what Damini was saying, that, you know, your body will tell you. I completely resonate with this because I have started operating from my body rather than from my mind or heart.
Yeah.
Because, and it's not that this instant no या instant yes की हमें आदत पड़ी हुई है. कोई कुछ काम बोलता है,
Yeah.
करोगे, हाँ हाँ sure why not? Have we seen ourselves? हाँ हाँ
Yeah.
sure why not?
Yes. Yeah.
बाद में I do it. So I am ready to make myself uncomfortable out of my
Yeah.
pattern
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
Then I go on self should have, and then I
Yeah.
go into meditation myself. How am I
Yeah.
going to do? So not only I
Yeah.
manipulate, I also go into self manipulation. So this
Oh,
is
what does that
what.
mean? What does self-manipulation mean? I would like to know that.
Yeah. Once I said, huh, sure, why not? I'm going into the manipulation of now, how will I do it? You know, my whole system gets compromised.
Right.
Because my yes did not come from my being. It came from my pattern of saying, now I have to make myself
Right.
uncomfortable and I will have to show
Right.
to the other I'm available for you. There is
Mm.
this constant operation
Yeah.
that be I cannot afford to be thought of someone who cannot do things for me.
Right.
So there is this relation of validating my good image,
Mm.
getting approval from other all the time.
Right.
So that sort of thing keeps on happening. What am I manipulating with my own system? So
Completely. Completely.
basically what she said कि एकदम से जवाब देने की जरूरत नहीं है.
Yeah.
You can just tell them, look, some time, I'll think about it, and then give me a day or give me a couple of hours. It's
Come
the
back.
most, so to say, safest thing to help yourself. Even
Very true. Very true. So we have to come out of this self-image that we are constantly playing at. हमसे नो नहीं कहा जाता क्योंकि दूसरा क्या सोचेगा. हमें कंडीशन करा गया है कि हम पहले हाँ ही कहें. Damini says that when you want to say no and you are forced to say yes, whether it is external factors or your most self-inflicted pressures, समझने की कोशिश कीजिए कि आपकी बॉडी में क्या हो रहा है. Your body will give you signs. You will have physical physical reactions from your body, something in your stomach, something in your mind, which tells you that you're very, very uncomfortable. Start to learn that. And then start with very small steps, like Vinita and Nami said. पहले अगर आप straight confrontation नहीं कर सकते, try sending a message through a friend, try sending a text, try with small things till you think you are more comfortable. And finally, it is about image management. And that, by the way, comes with self-awareness of very, very deep kind. अगर आपको अपने बारे में ही नहीं पता है, then you are actually playing it on autopilot without realizing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And you know, another thing that,
sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Damini. Go ahead, please.
You know, just one thing that I wanted to add to what both of you said was that another way to know whether, you know, we are really being true to ourselves or not, or are we comfortable, is कई बार हम हाँ, क्योंकि पैटर्न से ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, एकदम नहीं स्विच ऑफ हो पाता है, but many times हम हाँ बोल तो देते हैं, and like Vinita said, you know, we keep shooting ourselves after that. like we go into guilt and then we try to manipulate ourselves in some way कि fit कर दें उस situation में, but बोलने के बाद भी अच्छा नहीं लग रहा होता है. If after saying yes, this is what is happening, you're not at ease, you're constantly thinking about that particular thing and look, ऐसे कर लेना चाहिए था, वैसे कर लेना चाहिए था, that's your cue. That's your cue that, okay, this is what happened in this situation. If I can, step back and maybe rectify something, I'm going to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to take this learning from this situation and take it to the next one. Let me not repeat the same thing.
Yes. Damini, I have found myself almost walking into the trap and then taking a step back, either saying yes or no when I wanted to say otherwise, and almost as an afterthought realizing, yeah, मैंने बोल तो दिया, but I'm not feeling right about it. But thankfully today, I'm brave enough, if I may, to go back and say, look, I said it, but this is how I'm feeling, and I'd like to retract the entire thing. And earlier Sarika would not have done that. I think it has taken me a long time to finally reach here, to finally say कि नहीं यार, मैंने pressure में हाँ कर दी, या मैंने blackmail हो रही थी इसलिए हाँ कर दी. I did not want to say that. And after a lot of strength is when you're able to say कि no, I don't want to say yes anymore. I'd like to state how I felt, why I'm saying no, and here are my reasons. But yes, it has taken me a very long time to reach where I've reached here, where I'm able to speak my mind, more openly. I'll just try and take a few comments from the audience because otherwise I'll keep missing them. There is, so Ayusha, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, is saying, how do you deal with hyper independence, which occurs because you don't want to take a favor and not putting yourself down in front of others? So this is actually the other extreme. And while you're talking about self-love, I will digress a little and take this one question. And Damini, maybe you can talk about this, कि बहुत सारे लोगों को favors लेने की आदत नहीं होती at the cost of themselves. So, हमने selfishness के बारे में बात करी कि आप at the cost of others करते हो, but कभी-कभी हम इतना ज़्यादा self image of independent person में इतना trapped होते हैं कि we don't take help at all. And I do feel that also could be a huge contributor to self-love, right? Asking for help, seeking help. But I don't know about others, but I know that as a woman, it makes me feel even prouder if I say that, no, I'm a very independent woman. I don't need your help. How do you deal with that? Because that is also very, very detrimental. You are putting a lot of pressure on yourself, right?
Absolutely. And see, the way to differentiate whether your independence, so to say, is coming from a healthy place or not is again to check in with yourself that are you feeling comfortable? Is it adding something to your life? Does it make you feel good about yourself at the end of the day when you've not taken help and you've done something completely on your own? Is it building on your confidence, or is it leaving you restless? It's leaving you uncomfortable and closed? It's interfering in your relationships. Because when we're talking about this kind of a hyper independence that help लेने में अच्छा नहीं लगता है, झिझक महसूस होती है, एक certain image हम नहीं किसी के सामने portray करना चाहते हैं, that's only because perhaps at some point in time when you were your vulnerable self, you were not given the kind of support that you needed. And you do not want to be in that position again where somebody does not understand your vulnerable side. They don't give you that kind of support. So, it's almost like a defense. You shield yourself and you say कि नहीं मैं अपने को ही protect करूंगा या करूंगी because I don't trust the world outside. Hyper independence stems from a sense of mistrust in the world. It stems from a deep need to protect yourself because you felt unsafe and you felt insecure. And it's always going to leave you, with a sense of that, like there's a void, something is missing in your life. It's not building confidence. आप acts तो कर लोगे, आप मतलब actions आप perform कर लोगे अपनी life में, that's okay, you'll go achieve milestones. But how does it leave you feeling? वो खालीपन ना हमेशा chase करेगा. That's where it stems from.
Yeah, and could it, Damini, also stem from a sense of, trying to prove something? So for somebody like me, and I know I am almost that person who has very recently started asking for help. I would not ask for help. It was almost like मुझे पूरी दुनिया को prove करना था कि मैं ही कर सकती हूँ. So it was some sort of validation maybe that I was seeking. I don't know from who, from myself or from the
Absolutely.
external world. So
Absolutely.
it's
Like, when you've been exposed
yeah.
to unsafety or insecurity, वो खुद से आ रहा हो या, I mean, आता तो हमारे खुद से ही है, but based on the experiences that we've had. So again, if we've not received the kind of validation by you, I mean in general,
Sure.
when somebody has not received the kind of validation and the kind of approval that they really needed, and वो sense of self fully नहीं develop होता है because उसकी जगह doubt ले लेता है. And then how do you deal
Right.
with that doubt? Prove नहीं करो, then the mind thinks कि prove करूंगा या करूंगी तब जाके मुझे बाहर से वो acceptance और validation मिलेगी. So again, a sense of unsafety and insecurity stemming from
Yeah.
how you've related to the world or how the world has probably related to you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Very true, very true. But taking the conversation slightly ahead, Vinita, you've been practicing being an Oshoite for a long time, for as long as I remember, and much longer. And I know that in that world, it's almost like a community of sorts. So you also don't just work on yourselves, but you also handhold each other and who are working on themselves and create like a similar, like an inner circle. जो हम पहले बोल रहे थे कि बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है सेल्फ लव, यू नीड टू स्टार्ट, यू ऑलमोस्ट फील कि पूरी दुनिया कैसे डील करेगी. देयर आर सम पीपल दैट विल फॉल ऑफ योर रडार बिकॉज दे आर नॉट एबल टू take it very well. How does a community help? What are some of the practices that can help in working on yourself?
So the community is also in the process, Sarika. It's not that, but yes, there is sort of a safe space which is created when people are on when they are in a similar groove, so to say. It's how it helps. I don't know whether I can answer that question very well, but it's like, see, basically you are ready to expose yourself.
Right.
You are exposing your ability. Now, in what space and what kind of energies you are exposing your vulnerability is a big, big, big step, because no one, all of us, none of us want to feel intimidated,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
Nor do we want to intimidate the other, even though our
Great.
personality type may want to in a subconscious mind. So when we are working in a community, there is a sense of recognition to I just came across this phrase from a master, you see the other without veils and protection, and you allow yourself to be seen without veils and protection. Now, how
Right.
much courage I have to show myself without any mask
Yeah.
is quite I need a safe space initially, and then I'm
Right.
all about it. I also am getting ready
Yeah.
to be kind. Isolation may not be the right word, but I know I've been using this word very often because in my heart I'm feeling कि मैं अपने आप को I'm going into that outcast because I am
Right.
not pushing myself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That particular day, moment, hour.
Yeah.
But that also coming along with risk. But my people who जिनके साथ मैं काम कर रही हूँ, they also know the risk. So
Yeah.
there is this energetic. But outside that
Right.
community, it becomes challenging
Right.
because the language I am talking or speaking is coming from my body.
Right. Right. Right.
To be the other. So it's a responsibility not only that I am loving myself, I also need to be gentle with the other because I chose to go on a path. The other still wants to be in the path he or she is on.
True.
So there is respect for the other as well.
True.
भाई उसकी चॉइस है, उसने नई जर्नी शुरू करनी तो मैं उसको धक्का मार के तो नहीं बोलूंगी कि शुरू करो.
बिल्कुल.
Mutual space respect for each other. I think, but
Yeah.
this is over a period of time, Sarika, that I have come to this understanding over a period of time. Otherwise, there was a lot of this is right and this is wrong. This is morally good. This is morally good. ये सारे concept इतने ज़्यादा काफ थे कि इनको निकालने के बहुत brushing, धुलाई वुलाई करनी पड़ी. Like I listen to this. No, I'm the patient and I'm the surgeon.
हाँ हाँ. और उस धुलाई के बाद मुझे जहां तक पता है, you feel lighter
Oh,
and better, right?
you
It's a lot of weight that is going out of your body.
that little scrubby feeling still remains for some time, but then it goes away. You know.
Absolutely. Damini, what are some of the practices that you would tell your people that come to you for therapy to get into this kind of a space? I know we were talking about affirmations the last time that we spoke, and there are these little activities. A lot of people get into meditation to kind of self-reflect. Some people join an inner circle of whatever kind, whether it is like what Vinita is saying, a safe space that you want to join, or any other thing. So, what are some of these small practices which are easy, will help you initiate, will help you at least start taking those small steps towards understanding yourself, nurturing yourself, and loving yourself?
So, for me, it's everything always begins with the basics. And most of us, a lot of us, don't have our basics right, which is khana, pina, exercise karna, or sona.
Yeah.
Now, it may sound very, preachy or very bookish, but jaan hai to jahan hai. That's the basics. So, if we can get that right, that's
Yeah.
a very, very important step. And, small changes in your लिविंग एक्टिविटीज. आप कैसे खा रहे हो, किस टाइम पे खा रहे हो, कब सो रहे हो, आप whether you're giving your body some movement or not, all these things go a long way in shaping your relationship with yourself, right? Putting yourself in a certain kind of a discipline. So that's one. And pick कोई भी area से आप start करो, start setting one thing right, and your mind will slowly start transferring that knowledge and that learning to other areas. So that's one. And second, it's really important for us to schedule me time, whether it's once a day, 15 minute nikal lo, whether it's, you want to join something, or just take a day off in the week, whatever works, but some me time is really important, where you're giving yourself the time, you're sitting with your thoughts, or you're doing something that you enjoy, जिसमें दूसरों की interference नहीं है. वो वक्त सिर्फ आपका है, आप जैसे मर्जी उसको आप spend करना चाहो. That's that. And third, again, like I've said this before also, that honor your discomfort. कोई भी चीज अगर नहीं अच्छी लग रही है, आपको बॉडी में अनकंफर्टेबल लग रहा है, थॉट वाइज अनकंफर्टेबल लग रहा है, लिसन टू व्हाट योर माइंड एंड बॉडी आर ट्राइंग टू से, rather than just doing the same thing again and again and then cribbing about the same things again and again. If you want a different kind of life, if you want different results, you have to try different ways. You can't do the same thing and expect your life to change. So honor your needs, honor your discomfort. And last and most important, there are a lot of things that we can do, but it's also about learning to be friends with our emotions, because वो भी एक ऐसी चीज है जो हम just शन कर देते हैं, कि जो भी आप feel, मैं क्या feel कर रहा हूँ, कर रही हूँ, how is that showing up in my actions and my behaviors. So getting into that emotional awareness and management space is also very, very important. And trust me, 15 minutes in a day that you spend with yourself, some activity that you do, some basic that you get right, is going to help you in these things also.
Very true.
So these are some things that we could just start with.
Completely. So mind body connect. So I think more and more people are now agreeing to the fact that how you're feeling in your mind is what will show in your body, and how you're feeling in your body is how you will reflect in your emotions. There is absolutely no disconnect about it. You talk to anybody, and that's the one thing that is becoming more and more evident. And how do you tune yourself into your emotions, like Damini said, or spend yourself on your body? Damini, I do want you to elaborate this on this a little more. You said that make friends with your emotions. For me, for example, to make friends with my emotions, I first need to be aware कि emotion है क्या. And very often, I have seen people, especially when it comes to negative emotions, to brush it under the carpet, to justify it, to deny it or whatever, but we don't want to confront it. Especially जब हमारे अंदर के ग्रेज निकल कर आ रहे होते हैं, you're insecure, you're jealous, there is envy or any such feeling, so you somehow, your mind starts playing a trick, and you start saying no, I'm just feeling this because I'm right, and this is what is happening to me, etc., etc. How do you tune yourself to your emotions and how do you become more authentic to it? For you to befriend your emotions, like you saying, पहले तो आपको समझना पड़ेगा ना कि ये इमोशन है कहाँ और ये कौन सी स्पेस से आ रहा है. What space are you coming from? How do you start doing that? And what are the small, easy initial steps to reach there?
Um, to be able to be friends with something, you first have to think that thing has to be approachable, right? If I have to be friends with Sarika, I need to think that Sarika is approachable, right? Now we can be friends with our emotions because we are too busy judging our emotions as positive, negative, as good or bad. So the first step, a lot of our struggle is going to ease out when we understand that there are no positive or negative emotions. There are no good or bad emotions. There are just emotions. We have a wide range of emotions and these emotions are serving a purpose. जब हम खुश होते हैं, हमें कोई अपनी पसंद की चीज मिलती है, we are smiling, we are laughing, we want to share it with the world, तब हम अपनी खुशी को जज नहीं कर रहे. लेकिन जब हमसे कोई चीज चली जाती है फॉर एग्जाम्पल और अब हम उदास हैं, हमारा रोने का मन कर रहा है, तब हम बैठ के उस उदासी को जज करेंगे कि ये खराब है. अगर आप किसी चीज के लिए उदास नहीं फील करोगे तो आपको पता कैसे चलेगा कि वो चीज आपके लिए इम्पोर्टेंट थी या इम्पोर्टेंट है. So your sadness is also telling you that something in your life means something. It needs to be given some attention, some importance, right? अगर आप गुस्सा नहीं करोगे तो आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि ये मेरी बाउंड्री थी फॉर एग्जाम्पल जो वायलेट हो गई. So all your emotions, whether your anger, sadness, disappointment, the states that we get into, insecurities, these are trying to tell us something. But हम उनको avoid करने में लगे रहते हैं because we think they are really bad. And again, it's for a lot of us, that's again a product of conditioning. बचपन में बच्चे रोते थे तो पहले ही बोल दिया जाता था कि अरे रो मत, पहले कोई आंसू पोंछने आ जाता था. इमोशन का रिलीज ही होने नहीं देते थे, राइट? लड़के नहीं रोते, ऐसे नहीं रिएक्ट करते हैं, चलो आंसू पोछो, जाओ खेलने जाओ. So, we've just been conditioned to believe that it's okay to be all happy and cheerful and all, but जो softer या heavier emotions हैं, वो खराब हैं. जब हम इस mindset से थोड़ा off जाने लगेंगे, दूसरा ट्रैक करने लगेंगे, that my emotions are just messengers, they're trying to tell me something, then the next step is for me to sit and understand for myself क्या बोलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, मेरी सैडनेस मुझे क्या बता रही है. जब हम इस तरीके का डायलॉग करना शुरू करेंगे अपने साथ, चाहे हम लिख के करें, चाहे हम मेंटल चैटर करें, शीशे के सामने खड़े होकर बात करें, दोस्त को फोन करके बोले यार मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है, तब धीरे धीरे हम वो दोस्ती की तरफ जा पाएंगे अपने इमोशंस के साथ. Because they are just messengers at the end of the day. Drop the judgment that they are good, bad or positive, negative. That's all conditioning.
Beautiful. I love how you concluded this. आपके इमोशंस आपके दोस्त हैं, उनको समझने की कोशिश कीजिए. वो अच्छे या बुरे नहीं हैं, बस वो इमोशंस हैं. जैसे कि हम अपने अच्छे इमोशंस को बहुत जज नहीं करते हैं, आपको अपने खराब इमोशंस को बहुत जज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. They're just trying to tell you something. They're trying to tell you how you're feeling, and you need to kind of get comfortable with your emotions, especially the ones that we judge the most, for you to be aware of it. Vinita, any last words from you from that angle before we kind of conclude this conversation?
Yeah, I just want, when I read when you started, what should I say, floating the ad. She's into, she's a spiritual practitioner. तो मैं उस दिन ये सोची यार spirituality actually है क्या? All of us are spirits somehow. We all carry souls inside. So all of us are spiritual beings. And spirituality for me is like I'm coming closer to myself. I am accepting, talking to myself that I am unique. I am unique and I am unique. So are you. So the moment this that yes, I am unique in all my flaws, quotes, and in all my perfection. So is the. It's like you are giving yourself the freedom, and you are giving to the other as well. Now this is no. I feel actually this is very. It is about the change of perspective. You are building your own perception for the time being to support yourself to come out of this, this appeasement mode. That other is important, but I am not. And I start, I am unique and so are you. It's a very beautiful aroma of getting closer to yourself. Self love is not something which we can do. I think it is already there. I just need to take it out, unwrap it. That's
How beautiful. Shazi Negi here is saying, thank you for the beautiful explanation. Taking notes. Shazi, thank you for being here. I hope it has made sense. I'm sorry, I'm reading off my laptop because the comments are coming here and I'm doing the live on my phone. So mere nazar upar niche aa rahi hai. Sorry about that. But Vinita, thank you for such a beautiful conclusion. Ye zaruri nahi hai. I mean, what I heard her saying was that I am unique and so are you, and let's respect that. Respect the fact that I am who I am and you are who you are. We may not be, same. And so are our needs. Our needs are equally independent and individual, and they need to be fulfilled. This is JiViSa on relationship, guys, and the conversation is about self-love today, because all of us firmly believe that unless your own soul is completely nourished, you will not be able to have great, healthy relationships outside of yourself. एंड वैलेंटाइंस का कोई फायदा नहीं है अगर आपने अपने ऊपर ही काम नहीं करा है उसके लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि पहले आप अपने आप को समझें, अपने आप के ऊपर काम करेंगे ताकि आप आगे चीजों पे और काम कर सकें, so that you have healthier relationships in your life. I have Damini Grover, a fantastic psychologist from Delhi, and Vinita from Dehradun. She's an Oshoite. I also do apologize. I'm down with viral and very, very unwell. तो मेरे लिए आज थोड़ा सा in and out हो रहा है. And if it has come across, I'm sorry about that. But with that, we would like to end today's live. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming on the show. Thank you for the lovely audience and all the questions that you asked. We hope that you have benefited from the conversation. If there are any things that you want us to take up, we are very, very open to take suggestions. You can leave a comment on our Insta channel, JiViSa Wellness. Also, Damini is on I Empowered in case you want to reach out to her for any kind of sessions. Damini. And Vinita lives in Dehradun. Her house is open for any kind of meditation that you may want to come or just spend time with yourself. I know a lot of people do that in Dehradun. Signing off now. Thank you very much. Thank you, Damini. Thank you, Vinita.
Thank you.
Sarika.
Thank you, Sarika.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.